special layout for this. You can barely see us on the YouTube, but for podcast, it doesn't matter because you're listening to the podcast. This is a one quarterback, no tight end premium for this, just one quarterback PPR rookie mock draft. And Matty, you won the coin toss between you and Cody because we're going to give our guests the first pick. So Matty, you are on the clock
this is gonna be
at
difficult.
the 101.
That's interesting. What did Matty pick, tails or heads?
We assigned in my head in this imaginary coin flip that for sure happened for our listening audience. So Matty, it's just them's the breaks, Cody. You get one. Don't worry, Travis Hunter will probably be there at 102 if you want him.
I mean, it's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's Ashton Jeanty at the 101, 1 QB. This like last year. I mean, he Heisman Trophy candidate, and it was deservingly so. 34 fantasy points a game in college. Mega producer, elusive, and he's got the size. When you kind of watch him play, he's short, but he's pretty compact, pretty dense. I think he's going to have a nice little kind of measurables at the combine that surprises folks. What do you think, Cody? Like you're always on point with this. I'm thinking like 211. I could see him running in right over 210.
I hope that's about where. I hope he doesn't come in, and I know he's going to be on the shorter side. I hope he doesn't come in short and light and be like a 205. So I'm hoping he's north of that 210 marker.
He should be a little bit north of 210. And it depends. Like with his production, maybe he decides he doesn't want to slim down and run the 40. He was just going to tell teams like, I'm fast, and then weigh in at that 212, 213. And I think a lot of teams will be excited about the ball cap. But I mean, we're talking about if there is going to be only one first round pick. Cody's mock had him going to the Cowboys, which makes a whole lot of sense. And if he does go there, it's going to be, that's the landing spot. That's the team, the draft capital, the player, easy 101.
Cody, I completely agree. Cody's up at the 102.
I think this is a slam dunk 101 in every format right now. At 102, I think there's a discussion to be had, but I do think that there's a clear wide receiver one in this class. I wish I could make a statement for Luther Burden right now, but to be quite frank, I'm not happy with either Burden or Tet's 2024 season. I know Tet had a couple big games, but his overall output, overall resume wasn't my favorite. I could make a case for Burden here, but I'm just going to go ahead for chalk purposes and just go Tet. I got him going a top 10 pick, first receiver off the board in my latest NFL mock draft. In that write-up that Matty mentioned, playing with Bowers and Jacoby Myers, I kind of projected with them not taking a quarterback there, of them being in the Rodgers, the Darnold, or maybe like the second round Quinn Ewers conversation.
Cool. It's hard to argue with that. Mr. Babich at the 103.
I'm going to take my RB2 here. Omarion Hampton. Didn't love his landing spot in Cody's mock draft. I just went and peeped that.
I did.
Although Texan, there could be worse landing spots than being directly behind, Joe Mixon. We just watched Damian Pierce run for 176 yards. Like it was back in his high school days or something like that. So certainly being inserted into a high-powered offense and having the potential within a year or so, maybe not the immediate benefit, but if he's got the keys there, then, lights out. 2 straight 1,500-yard seasons. He had, 38, I think, nearly 40 receptions this year. You see it in both phases of the game. He's got the size-speed combo. He really has all the stereotypical, whatever you want to call it, profile surrounding him that you really like to see in running back. And it's between a Hampton and Kaleb Johnson is really close right now. I feel like at the end of the day, it's simply going to come down to capital and landing spot. Maybe, some official testing may, tweak it a little bit, but probably just landing spot there. But in a vacuum right now, I lean towards Hampton. If he hits that 4.4 at his, 220 6-foot frame, that's going to be probably 85th, 90th, maybe even plus speed score percentile. So incredible prospect, plays both phases of the game, rising up draft boards. Hopefully see him get drafted in the second round.
And you guys, I mean, I know people already think I'm nuts, man. That's not changing. Probably because I am. All right. At the 104, man, F it. I'm taking the best talented player, maybe in this entire class. And I'm going to bet that an NFL team views him as a more valuable commodity as a wide receiver. And that's what I've seen on tape, man. There's a play, I can't remember who against, but it was a predetermined throw. The quarterback had no business throwing this ball, and he laid out, beat the corner, who was probably like 7 or 8 yards ahead of him downfield. Didn't matter. Travis Hunter beat him with the corner had an 8-yard head start, dives, and you just think, oh my God, that's Justin Jefferson. And it's incredible. So I will take the most talented player, my wide receiver 1 on my board, in Travis Hunter.
I had to avoid, I just had to avoid it this episode. And
yeah,
I am not publicly walking anything back with Shedeur Sanders yet, but just know that I have come to the realization that he may not be as good as I thought he was as I started. I'll tell you, I'm not taking Shedeur Sanders, obviously, but I started watching film, like actual film of Shedeur Sanders over the last couple of weeks, over the holidays. And I almost instantly couldn't believe anything I said about him came out of my mouth. I almost just couldn't believe. Because I'll tell you what, when he makes the big throws, when he makes the big plays, he looks really good. But then you watch the other 98% of the game, and his footwork is bad, his pocket awareness is bad, but it makes it, all the more of a positive on Travis Hunter that he was able to do what he did. So I had to avoid that just in case. I've already had enough bad takes this offseason, but I love this receiver out of Ohio State.
Wait a minute.
Emeka Egbuka.
Wait a minute. What's going on? What?
This isn't a snake draft.
I thought we were gonna. You got a double pick anyway.
We're never told the rules before we.
Well, if it was a snake draft, it would be my pick anyway. I would have back-to-back picks. Yeah. So I just assumed
Matty, is it you or me?
It's Matty. Matty's back up.
I mean,
so I figured we give our guests.
Making sure.
I figured
we can snake it.
Yeah,
I'd be judging you guys.
Guests
if you made it back to me either way.
The premium picks here. We give our guests the premium picks.
I just had to jump out and make sure that I said it before either of them that I like Emeka Egbuka more. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Emeka Egbuka too. I've been a big fan of Emeka Egbuka, but here at the 105, I'm going to take Kaleb Johnson. I'm going to stick to the running back. When you see Kaleb Johnson drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers in Cody's mock, it's hard to not unsee that. That is the nuts landing spot. Size, explosiveness. We've seen a progression in the passing game, 1,500 rushing yards. And believe it or not, a guy of this size and coming from this school, 240 rush attempts last year. It's a lot. It shows that he's a workhorse, but I mean, we saw Hampton get 281. Skattebo almost 300 carries. So I think there's a little bit more tread on that tire, especially because he's a late bloomer. So I'm going to go with the day 2 pick, Kaleb Johnson here.
I'm going to run up to the board. I'm going to sprint up to the board, and I'm going to take a receiver that I love and have loved for more than a year. That's Luther Burden. He fits the archetype right around that 6 foot tall, 205-pound frame. I think he's going to test very well. And when you go look back to last year, 2023, he was right around Tre Harris in this class, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Romadunze, and all the advanced metrics. So here's to hoping that a landing spot like New Orleans, where they need all the talent they can get in that wide receiver room, he gets it right here with Luther Burden.
Well, Matt, your guy's available, and it is your pick. So is this where you're going?
I mean, I can see into the future. I just wanted to get those next 2 picks over with. They were basically written in stone. But Emeka Egbuka, been a fan of his, dating back to the episodes of Dynasty Roundtable, going into last draft season when we thought Egbuka may be in that mix of receivers going into the draft. He ends up holding off a year. I personally think that ended up being a big positive for him because probably wouldn't have been a first-round pick last year with the draft capital. Now looking like that he might be a late-round, first-round pick. Cody's mock had him at Washington. That would be sick. I mean, you saw this offense, and I feel like fundamentally Olamide Zaccheaus was a fantasy league winner in fantasy football. Jamison Crowder was putting up usable weeks. The dusty husk of Zach Ertz is scoring touchdowns. Everything was happening on this offense, and they did not have a single notable wide receiver too. I think Dotson could have potentially ended up as a top 36 receiver in fantasy points per game, just lucked into it if he managed to stay on the roster. Curtis Samuel, something like anybody could have had an incredible year. You get a really polished receiver to play opposite of Terry McLaurin, who's going to obviously draw some of the island coverage. With his deep threat ability, he's going to take some attention back as well. And that's going to be a perfect fit for Egbuka. Someone who has great spatial awareness, good route runner, knows how to work zone, work the middle of the field. So whether it's in Washington or somewhere else, I think Egbuka is he brings a level of polishedness. That's not a word, to the team. And he's going to be a day one fantasy contributor should he land in a good spot.
Polishedness is not a word, but polishedness is a word. So you were almost,
of course, in the English language.
You're almost right. Don't question me. All right. I'm gonna go good pick, by the way. Yeah, everybody's doing well. Hooray for us. I'm gonna go Quinshon Judkins here. Quinshon Judkins. I just shameless plug, just his all 22 breakdown is going to be published on Wednesday on my channel, the Seth Dewald Fantasy channel. And he's incredible. I think the dog rating would be pretty high on Quinshon Judkins. Am I right, Cody, or am I wrong on that?
Very high.
Okay. Because I
Does
saw
he get maniacal though? I feel like he's one of those that might get maniacal.
I hope not, because when you get to maniacal, you can't catch footballs in the cold.
And you fight fans.
And you fight fans.
So there was a play that I watched. It was like a quarterback power play against Penn State to seal the game, basically, and he threw the block that really sprung Will Howard for the first down. So it's just like plays like that I keep seeing come up, and I know like I have this inner monologue with myself because I'm not talking to anybody in my episodes, but I know what the chat is going to say, or at least I think I do. Like, we don't care about blocks. We don't care about, this stuff. How many fantasy points is he going to score, Seth? Well, coaches are going to see that, and it's going to get him on the field a lot quicker than, he otherwise would be. So I think he's not only a really good player, just, a guy that, like I said in the video, like you have him mocked to Baltimore. And I know some people would think that's nuts because, they have Derrick Henry and he just had a career year. But Derrick Henry we all know how old he is. And getting an air replacement for Derrick Henry would be perfect, I think. And I would, if I get a discount on Quinshon Judkins because he gets drafted by the Ravens, who love to run the football more than anybody with Lamar Jackson, if I have to wait a year, whatever, I'm fine with it. Great. I'll take the discount on Quinshon Judkins if there is one, if he gets drafted by the Ravens in the second round. I think that's a tremendous landing spot. So I'll throw it to Matty at the 109.
This next pick, I already kind of see the writing on the wall that this is going to be one of those laughable kind of picks in reflection over the course of time. But when you don't know, you don't know. So you just go with what you know. So I'm going to take Cam Skattebo here because everyone hates Skattebo because he's going to be slow, and he probably will be. And that's why this pick will go away. He will fade. The draft capital probably won't be there to to warrant a 109 pick. But I'm sorry. I just look at the guys who are in the top 20, 22 running backs in Dynasty. Kyren Williams isn't fast. Josh Jacobs isn't fast. Then I keep going. The David Montgomery's not all that fast coming out. Chuba Hubbard wasn't all that fast. Brian Robinson wasn't all that fast coming out. Najee Harris, James Conner wasn't all that fast. But they were good running backs, and you could see it in college. And for better or worse, Cam Skattebo was a monster in college. Averaged almost as many fantasy points per game as Ashton Jeanty. 52 targets, 44 receptions, over 2,200 total yards from scrimmage. Dog. And if he gets a chance, it might take a couple injuries. This is the type of guy that eventually makes for a very productive fantasy running back. And like I said, it'll fade over the course of time when the draft capital fades or the testing isn't there. But we don't know what we don't know. So I'm just going to go with what I do know, that Cam Skattebo is a player.
Sounds like you're going to get a lot of discounted Cam Skattebo when that probably happens.
Oh,
when the 40 isn't as good as – yeah, because
I'm going to take him all day.
Yeah,
I've seen this game before. It's like, wait, why weren't we taking the really – I made the same fucking mistake with Bucky Irving last year.
Yeah,
he's slow. He's not the – I got too cute with my analysis. No, he's a good running back, and in running back, it's the easiest translatable position from college to the pros. We see it all the time.
Love it. Mr. Carpentier.
I think that's fair. I mean, there does have to be a Samaje Perine in every class. So there's that.
Samaje Perine's still in the NFL, Cody.
What's he done for you?
I'm just saying, like, he's a ball player. Samaje Perine's still in the NFL.
He's a ball player, but I'm just saying, I agree with you, but I'm just saying I might not use my first round pick on him. That's all I'm personally saying.
I probably won't when push comes to shove. But right here, what if he does run faster than expected? What if he does get the day 2 draft capital?
What do you think he's going to run? This is a very interesting thing that I was talking to the Roster Watch guys about this during the game the other night, and we were trying to figure it out, put a number on it. What number would you guys put on this?
I think like 4.62.
It's literally what is shown in NFL Draft Buzz. It's on my on the left. That's their estimated as well.
I was going off David Montgomery's 4.63. I think it'll be.
I mean,
range. Yeah.
But the 40 time is very flawed. It's very nice to see a back with the requisite size, speed that we like to put, the league winning or the workhorse running back into. But these guys aren't sprinters. These guys get in a sprinter stance and ask a runner or ask one of these guys who run the 40. You even just stray off your straight line a little bit, and you can cut a 4.62, and that can be a 4.67. So I like Matty said, like if he can hit, Josh Jacobs not fast, but he can hit 20 miles an hour. I'm sure Cam Skattebo can hit 20 miles an hour. Back in my high school days, I hit 21 on a treadmill. So I'm slow as shit. These guys have enough breakaway speed. If they're a good running back, they're going to get opportunities, but maybe a little early.
I also want to make sure that I could talk about him. I didn't know if
that's fair.
My other pick here was Henderson, and I thought if I took Henderson, maybe he goes. But this is the game you play. This is why it's a mock, baby.
I love it. And I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to be right into that, but
no.
I talk about the white boy. All right, so 110 here. I got a number of people I'm looking at. Tell you what, it is nice sitting in this 110 spot with an array of running backs glaring at you after I have Tet and Burden on my roster.
You always do this. You act like you own every pick that you draft from. That's how I never draft it that way. I never look at it that way.
We did heads or tails. You got the 101. You're building running back base roster. You have no PPR.
This is Cody Carpentier 101 acting like every pick in the mock is his fantasy team. Drafts would look totally different if you do it that way. But this is Cody 101 to be like,
you don't have any PPR.
You didn't draft a quarterback in Superflex. It's like, wait. We were supposed to do this stuff? No, he's the one that sets the rules post, and you get me every time. We've
gotten critiques about because we've kind of done that before. We've fallen into that trap, and then the chat's always like, "Hey, you should draft these picks as if each team is an individual team, not like you're
That's how I
trying to
draft.
build a team. Yeah, so I don't care how to
It's a
me it's
joke.
like you
It's
just
more a
do
joke than anything. It looks
Yeah.
appeasing, and you're like, it's good to. I can just
Yeah.
talk crap to Matty because
Yeah.
Matty doesn't have any PPR points yet because he's got a bunch of stone-headed runners. And I got all the receivers. So that's
Yeah.
the direction I'm going to take this
We're
thing.
gonna make a trade. Skattebo for Burden. Let's do it.
Puke.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you're just trying to work that Skattebo value up to a top 6 pick now. I like it.
There you go.
I'll go with the most dynamic receiver in football this year. I don't think he belongs in this spot, but I'm going to take him because I want another receiver. I'm just kidding. That's not why I'm going to do it. I'm going to take him because I do believe he belongs in the top 5 conversation at the wide receiver position. I do think he's going to be on this cusp of first round between like 110 and 2-3 when it does come to the end of this thing. The receiver class really falls off after Tet and Burden and Hunter and Egbuka. Like that's what I think the bulk of the receiving class is, and I don't really even consider Hunter to be fully in that because he's such an anomaly. I do think there's a bit of a tier here, but I do think Tre Harris kind of is in the middle of the tier. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Tre Harris from Ole Miss.
That was going to be my next pick. Hashtag PPR points. I do love Tre Harris. We talk a lot about it. We saw what Nico Collins was able to do, and I'm not saying he's Nico Collins, but you look at the body framework, that pure X receiver, and that's the kind of archetype potential that Tre Harris has, and that is very, very enticing. So I guess I'll go back to the old RB because I echo Cody's sentiments about really just not liking this wide receiver class very much after we get beyond Tre Harris. So I will take TreVeyon Henderson from Ohio State. Seth thought I was the lowest person in the history of rankings on TreVeyon Henderson, even though I had him at 10. He jumps up to 9 here after the last couple of weeks. Looked very good against Oregon. So I think that was kind of him saying, hey, Matt, you're hating on me a little too much. You moved me down after the Michigan game. That was reactionary. I still got that burst. So TreVeyon Henderson upside was a little capped here in 2024. You're going up with a dog with Quinshon Judkins. You look across their game logs. It was essentially trading blows on kind of who had the big game. Obviously, the two of them had some duds with neither one of them getting enough work to get going. But like what TreVeyon Henderson was able to do, like his potential draft capital as well.
Good pick. It kind of, to me, it falls off a little bit after TreVeyon Henderson, but there's still a running back I like. So I'm gonna make this pick here, and I'm gonna go Nick Singleton. I love his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, and I don't care that he's technically not the best running back. If anything, that makes best running back in his own backfield. I should have finished that thought because Katron Allen's really good too. But over 1,000 rushing yards this year and a career high 39 receptions for 342 yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. I think that's going to come in real handy in a PPR league. Obviously, landing spot's going to matter, but I like Nicholas Singleton a lot, especially in this format. So that is round 1. Any thoughts before we move on to round 2 here?
I hope Matty doesn't snipe me right here. That's all.
Okay. This round 2 separates the men from the boys.
This is the last pick. This is the last pick. Not in the draft, not in this mock draft, but this is the last pick that I want.
Okay.
If I don't have if I'm sitting, and I guess it's maybe an overarching thought that I just have, that if I don't have a first round pick and I'm a team that traded away that pick and maybe I'm sitting at like 208 and I'm like, man, I really want to get into this first round, try and get one of these things. I know Matty's talking about before. He's like, don't try and you maybe don't want to try and get up into this thing to try to shoot your dart or throw your dart or whatever. I think I would try to throw it to the 201. That's the one place I would try to get to, the 201. Okay. I think I would make that a point to get there because I do think once you flush through those 12 guys, to me, there's really one more guy I want before I think I'm just like, okay, well, let's just make the picks the rest of the way as far as like where I'm sitting right now on January 6th. That could grow a couple more spots, but I think everybody past this guy is a little bit underwhelming.
So I don't think I'm going to end up making the pick that I think your guy's going to be there for you at the 202, because what I'm doing at the 201 is I'm learning a lesson from 2024. And I'm going to take Ollie Gordon because last year I avoided Braylon Allen, didn't want Braylon Allen, didn't have a 2023 campaign like I thought he would. He must have fallen off. And then I know he didn't really pop, but that's what's going to happen when you're behind Brees. But we saw him have a few spikes in value because he is talented. Ollie Gordon had a fantastic 23, very lackluster 2024, but the talent's there, the size is there, the pass catching ability is there. So for me, I just can't let him fall any longer. I'm taking him at 201.
Cody?
I think it's fine. I like Ollie as a back. I think his team sucked, and it wasn't all his fault. I would have also loved if he would have came out last year for a running back mileage standpoint. But I think that this pick for me is Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. When you do go back to 2017, the 201 in that class was Alvin Kamara from Tennessee. And that's not why I'm making this reference here of him being the 201, 202. It's literally it just happens to be how it aligns in the depth of this class for me right now. I think Dylan Sampson is an electric talent that can go into a team on day one, be that starter. I don't even remember where I mocked him. I don't even know if I had him in the first 2 rounds. Did I have him here?
No, I don't believe you did.
I didn't have him in the first 2 rounds. But I do believe he'll probably be there. One of the first running backs on the board in round 3, which we know is fine. Kareem Hunt was a 3rd round pick that year as well. So either one of those things works. I think Dylan Sampson played in an offense that wants to throw the football a lot, just happened to run the football a lot because they had a guy named Dylan Sampson in the backfield who's super explosive. And obviously they had Jalen Wright last year. He had 600 yards playing with Jalen Wright, 100 carries. And he did hit the threshold of 20 receptions that we often look for.
That is Dylan Sampson is one of 4 guys I've highlighted so far, and I won't say the other 3, but I'm right in lockstep with you with Dylan Sampson. I can already tell he's going to be a guy that I'm probably going to have more of than consensus for sure.
All right, based on where I think draft capital is going to play, I've been trying. There's a player I love. Seth Newt probably knows who I'm thinking about. There's a player I love, but I feel like I'm just going to be ahead of the curve, and he's going to end up getting like 4th round draft capital, and I'm going to have to force him down my rankings. So to avoid that, I'm going to try and push this player down another round. And if he gets sniped by Matty or Cody, that just means I'm probably making a good decision on my prospect rankings. So I'm going to take a shot on a guy who might get, the day 2 draft capital, 2nd round draft capital, could stay in the state of Texas. I don't necessarily love Isaiah Bond as a prospect. I'm not super intrigued by him, but what we kind of saw with Xavier Worthy and how that started to work out once the deep ball started to lessen and they started making him more of a gadget-esque, Rasheed-esque type of role. If they can if a team can put Isaiah Bond in a similar situation, we all see the PPR scam, the 3-yard screens, that's 1.3 fantasy points. If he's going to get 2nd, 3rd round draft capital to a team where he's going to be a starting, slot receiver, starting in, 3 receiver sets for a team, sign me up at the 203. I feel like there's worse ways you can spend this pick if you're going to stay home and draft. I think the upside's really there for him to be kind of one of those scam guys. I think it's a copycat league, so maybe we see that type of Rashee Rice role that we've seen become so lethal in Kansas City start to become developed in other locations as well. Maybe the Cowboys, like in Cody's mock, go out and take Isaiah Bond, which I don't necessarily, I'm not in love with him as a prospect. That fit, I actually would really love, and I would be borderline excited to take Bond at the 203 if he were to go to the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm going to take a shot here on a hyper athletic receiver.
He also has the coolest touchdown dance, I think, in college football. I mean, the guns on the. Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah,
this?
yeah,
Here?
This type of
Yeah, it's incredible.
that doesn't give the NFL would flag that. Wow, he's gonna have to get a different dance. NFL
my
is gonna
Can't do
God.
guns. No guns. No more
15-yard
guns.
penalty, no guns.
His full brand is 007. He's got like
It's
the chain, everything.
I mean, it's just incredible. The NFL goes so far as to, they ban gun violence from their celebrations, and yet gun violence still exists in America. It's shocking, really.
What was the one on Christmas where they were like stealing presents that got fined? Who was that?
Who was
I
that?
can't remember who it was. Was it somebody from the Lions? Was it like Jameson Williams or something?
I think
Maybe somebody.
Sounds right.
But what are your thoughts? You covered Texas. What are your thoughts on Isaiah Bond, Cody?
He's really good. He's just been hurt all year, and he was the alpha receiver in the room until he dealt with the ankle injury, re-aggravated the ankle injury. He makes the entire offense operate at a different level, and he can play both inside and outside. They move him around. He's he brought up Worthy. Obviously, I know you didn't comp him to Worthy, but like he brings that dynamic ability to the offense to where he can catch the football behind the line of scrimmage and just go, and he has that breakaway speed. So he's super young too. I think he's 20. I think he turns 21 this summer. So that obviously helps in the dynasty realm. I was hoping kind of that Texas would offer him, $1.5 million, $2 million to come back and play one more year, but don't think that's going to end up happening because he knows the depth of this receiver class blows, and he's probably going to be a top 40 pick.
Gotcha. If he's a top 40 pick, then yeah, there's a chance he climbs a little bit higher, and that's a really good pick by Matt. I'm gonna see what you think of this comp here. I feel like Xavier Restrepo is this year's Ricky Pearsall. What do you guys think?
How dare you hope he gets shot in the chest?
Well, I don't know.
Well, it's been happening to everybody. Brian Robinson in the ass,
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall in the chest. So
How dare you, Seth?
someone's getting shot in the stomach.
Yeah. I hope I didn't put that evil out there.
Well, ass,
But-
A toe or something.
stomach. Or meat.
Yeah.
Gets choked in his toe
God
shot.
damn. Wow.
I don't think I actually would argue I would rather my NFL prospect get shot in the stomach than the foot. You lose a toe. I mean, that's
Well, the big
toe
toe.
somewhere losing.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it's like the ring toe or something.
You need balance.
Yeah, I can't imagine if you lose a
Not my running
toe.
back falling over.
If you lose a toe, like that would be a hell of a way to end your career. It's like you got shot in the foot and you have no more toe. Like you'd have to get like a prosthetic or something. I don't know.
I also don't think you should be wishing this on Restrepo. He's like 40 years old already. Like he can't bounce
That's
back
what I'm
from
saying.
a gunshot wound.
That's what I'm saying. He's a fifth year senior. He's, he plays that slot receiver. I wanted to get a little slotty. So I like Xavier Restrepo here at PPR league. I mean, right situation. You never know. I like him.
I respect it.
I think he could be one of those like guys that leaves Mobile. Is he going to Mobile? I think he's going to Mobile, right? Didn't he get invited down there?
Xavier Restrepo, yes.
Might be too old.
Yeah, like I could see him leaving Mobile with a lot of helium because he's that type of route runner that can just tear people up in those type of like one-on-one drills.
Yeah, it shows up on tape too. I like his tape's really good, I think.
I'm just going to continue to spit in the face of the PPR settings. I'm going to go with Devin Neal.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Devin Neal definitely,
That's a
I
great
would
pick.
imagine, really wishes he could go back in time and be part of the 24 running back class as opposed to the 25, given the depth. But this is a guy, 127 rushing yards per game, was pretty elusive, had pretty good yards after contact metrics, still has some pretty decent tread on the tires, only 218 rush attempts this year. He's able to, record, was it the 26 receptions on 31 targets? It's going to probably not come with a whole lot of draft capital, but I like the prospect, like the running back. I'm going to stick to the backs.
All right,
love that pick.
Here's my favorite pick of the draft. The 206. Got this guy in the second round in my mock draft. I put him up here for a reason because I wanted to talk about him. So I'm excited I get to draft this guy. I'm excited that nobody else is on this guy, at least to this spot. He's a receiver, so I'm going to go back to the receiver well. 6 foot tall, 205 pounds. He's 21 years old. He broke out as a 19-year-old redshirt freshman. Utah State. Jalen Royals. He's going to be down there at the Senior Bowl as well. This kid goes and gets it. He is a bona fide stud. You turn on that Boise State tape, and that's all the tape you need to watch with Jalen Royals. He finished his career with consecutive 150-yard games against Boise State, who won the Mountain West, UNLV, who lost the Mountain West, and New Mexico, who sucks. This kid is built like the archetype that I love and that we all have come to love in fantasy football. Chase, DJ Moore, OBJ, Amari Cooper, Neighbors, JSN, Diggs. You want me to keep going? I can. Jefferson, Sammy Watkins. Like, I can keep on. All these guys are in this 5'11 to 6'1", 195 to 205. That's where he fits. This guy's going to run a 4.44, 4.46. I will say, I got okey-doked into this in 2018 with Anthony Miller. 10-inch hands. He looked like OBJ. Not quite, obviously, OBJ, but he looked like that-esque. Royals looks like the same thing. He looks like the Anthony Millers from Memphis, who I think maybe had a couple more off-the-field problems than Jalen Royals will. Jaden Reed, I think that's what the Senior Bowl sees in Jalen Royals is Jaden Reed. Deebo Samuel was down there a couple of years ago. They've had these guys that are built to the same exact archetype. Velus Jones. It just goes on and on for this exact build of a player. Kadarius Toney, Malachi Corley, Sky Moore. There's missing.
We're starting to name a lot of really bad players now.
There's-
What's happening?
Yeah.
You're at the 206.
We're venturing down a dark alley.
No, you're
there,
taking
Cody.
shots at the 206. I do agree with that for sure.
We're talking about Velus Jones, the running back.
You brought up
there's-
Velus Jones and Anthony Miller. How dare you? This is not. I don't like.
Listen, there's misses to be had, but with every miss is a great. And those were just guys that were respectively at the Senior Bowl. Malachi, Tony, Velus, but they also had Deebo, Jaden Reed. And he fits the archetype. This is the game you play. This kid went to Utah State. He went to Georgia Military Junior College his first year out of school because nobody wanted him. He had 0 offers, 0-star kid. Built his way up, put 20 pounds on. Man-made, built-made. This is what I want right here in my 206. Jalen Royals goes to the Miami Dolphins. Tyreek Hill left town and left a gaping hole for 140 targets, and Jalen Royals is going to fill it in.
I'm out.
Wow.
That's what he said. I'm out.
Wow.
Tyreek Hill, I'm out. I can't do this. For my family's sake, I need to get the fuck out of here.
And, okay, Tyreek Hill thing. Small side. How were the odds for him to go somewhere? How was the Kansas City Chiefs not the top odds?
They're 13-1. I feel like if they're gonna get him back,
How
it's
was
the most obvious thing ever.
Like,
Yeah. Why would?
I was like, not Kansas City, not Kansas City, not Kansas City. I'm like, are they?
The Patriots are
NFL
like 8-1. It's like he ain't going to New England. He just shot his way out of Miami. He's gonna want to go to New England. To Foxborough, Massachusetts. Are you kidding me?
I don't get it. I need to go for a drive and make some bets.
I don't. Man, I didn't even know you could bet on that. That seems like
You can bet on
easy
anything
money.
nowadays.
That sounds like. I mean, how like he's not going to go play for a non-contender, so you can throw that out the window. I mean, why would that be so low? The only explanation would be there's something we don't know that was ugly when he left Kansas City, but
it's just
feels
cockamamie odds. That's all it is. It's just
All right.
cockamamie odds behind it. They have Dallas at like 3-1 or whatever it was. Like
Falcons are on the list. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
This
Like,
draft
what?
class is
Falcons.
This
Ugh.
draft class is so bad that the most entertaining thing to talk about at the 207 is Tyreek Hill. That's where
Hey, Jalen Royals is pretty good.
you've been on him. You've been on him for weeks. I mean, it was back in November that Seth was saying, "Hey, start looking into this Jalen Royals kid." So
why do you only play 7 games? Can you guys answer me that? Why do you
foot
only play
injury?
7?
Foot
Got
injury.
foot injury.
So you're telling me he couldn't handle the 20 pounds you put on?
I'm telling you, he went for like 150, 180, and 170 in 3 consecutive games to finish his
Look at
career.
his stats. Like Matt Babbage and I looked it up.
insane.
His game log was crazy.
He averaged 120 yards per game in the 7 games he played.
He had 211 and
That's
2 touchdowns
awesome.
at Boise State.
Yep, that's the one, and it's
I could
against
pro- I
like
could probably
not
look through
bad
that
schools
for us.
either.
All right. Well,
So, Matt's up.
207. I'm gonna, following kind of Cody's archetype here. I'm gonna take a guy, 5'11. He's 206, runs a 4.47 40. Oh shit! I'm looking at Jalen Rager's player profiler page. That is
Whoopsie.
is not what I meant to do.
That's awesome.
No, this was the running back I wanted to take in the last round. I love where he fits as a player and as a potential fantasy producer. I just don't know if a senior transfer into SMU is going to get that day 2, even round 3 draft capital that I want. I've, gone to bat for a lot of these guys year after year after year, hoping for that draft capital. And, some of them will get it, but, odds are Brashard Smith is probably not, be very, very, very fringe day 2, very likely day 3. That being said, I love PPR fantasy points, and Brashard Smith's going to be a guy who can get them. And not to be too reactionary to what Tyrone Tracy was able to do, but you take a guy who's played receiver most of his life, and then when he transfers, and mind you, transfers to better competition into SMU and what their schedule ended up being this year, ends up looking like a natural runner. Vision is great. Has a good sense of where to go, ball security, top end speed. He has a lot of those top end running back qualities. He's not a guy who's super small. He's not going to be slow. So there's nothing that's, weighing him down there. To me, this is just, are you a good running back? And again, I'm not the best talent evaluator out there, but he looks like a pretty good running back to me. Was able to, against some good competition against Penn State, against some of the ranked opponents, against Clemson in the ACC championship game, he was able to churn out some good numbers. Maybe not great, mind you, because SMU just isn't great overall. Brashard Smith wasn't going to be the one to single-handedly maul Penn State and keep them in that game. They lost by, however many points. It was out of hand. But I really think if he gets just an opportunity, that's really all he needs. A Tyrone Tracy to the Giants is all it takes for a guy like Brashard Smith to be relevant next year. Senior Bowl, watch out.
I like it. I'm gonna go. I don't know if this is just picking up what is the value here, but I'm just gonna go Jordan James. He was pretty productive last season, if I can operate a spreadsheet here, with Bucky Irving at Oregon, and this season he's been really, really good for a really good Oregon team. I like it the way he cuts back. Like in when he's running, I think he's got some of the best cutbacks in this class, like as far as his ability to maneuver and find the running lanes. So he came on a little bit with his pass catching this year. 26 receptions is a career high. So I like that in a PPR league, and then 15 touchdowns this year was also a career high. He had 11 touchdowns last year, even with some serious competition in the backfield. So, yeah, I'll go Jordan James, and this will be it. This is our last round of picks. Matty, you're up at the 209.
I so badly want to take my boy Harold Fannin Jr. on principle alone, but I'm not going to since it's my last pick. And who I'm going to take Tez Johnson from Oregon. Here in the end, I like going for the slot guys, kind of towards the end, kind of what you're thinking with Restrepo. I kind of see a lot of that potential in a guy like Tez Johnson, who was productive this year for Oregon, 100 targets, caught 82 of them, had 10 touchdowns. I am taking him over his teammate Evan Stewart, because Evan Stewart might have the hype, he might have the prospect kind of reputation coming out of college and whatnot, but what I will never chase in terms of prospect evaluation is under deliverers. That's why I didn't have any shares of Treylon Burks. I hate the guys that are supposed to do stuff, don't do stuff, and then have people telling you all these excuses why they didn't do the stuff. Evan Stewart was supposed to be a 5-star bona fide at A&M, kind of fell flat. Went to Oregon, was supposed to be the dude, kind of fell flat for a few different reasons. Tez Johnson seems like a very boring prospect when you watch him. It just seems like it's pretty vanilla. But at the end of the day, of anyone at this range, I think who could see 80 to 100 targets at some point in his career, I think it's Tez Johnson.
Very solid receiver. I like Tez quite a bit. Could go two directions here. I kind of want to go with just a super dart in Savion Williams from TCU. He's a sicko. And I turned his stuff on today, and we're going through, and Alex did his write up on Roster Watch, and I'm like, all right, I better throw it on and go through my gradings. And I was like, man, this guy just throws a wrench in this whole class, because he's supposed to be a receiver, and like he looked good as a receiver last year, and then he's out here taking like 10 carries a game for TCU, and it doesn't make any sense. He's running Texas routes to a T, spin moves at 228 pounds. Like, he's a Super Saiyan athlete. So I kind of want to take him here, but he also hasn't had that 1,000-yard season. So like Matty kind of mentions, and you know why I'm not taking him here? Simply because Matty brought up one name, and that was Treylon Burks. And I texted Alex back about Savion Williams earlier, and this is exactly what I texted him. We're talking about finding a comp for him. And I said, he's better than Cordero and better than Burks, more elusive than Terrell Pryor and Metcalf, vision of a running back with contested skills of like a Demaryius Thomas. I don't know what to do with him. And the Burks thing was one of the first ones that I thought of because of rushing. Burks ran the ball more than 10 times in college. I really like Savion, and I really kind of want to take him right here, but I'm not. I'm going to take the proven commodity, which Matty just brought up was a good fact. Back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons. Since the game against Oregon last year, where he had 7 carries for 71 yards and kind of really popped onto the scene at Texas Tech, 22 consecutive games with more than 95 yards rushing. The 3 games that he did not have 100, he had in the 90s. Those came against Texas. That came against Texas, Cal, and Kansas State. He had 95, 95, and 98. Every other game last year and this year, every single game, he had 100 yards on the ground. Tahj Brooks, the running back from Texas Tech. He's a 5th-year guy. He's got 1,000 career touches, which is a billion as far as the running back position is concerned. But somebody in this class has to be the James Conner. Somebody has to be the Marlon Mack. He could be one or the other. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that dart.
This class is freaking loaded. Tahj Brooks, you could paint me a million different stories where this guy is a fab destroyer, an undrafted out of nowhere. Who's this guy running for 600 yards as rookie? Tahj Brooks is built like a brick shithouse in the best way possible.
Speaking of built like a brick shithouse, I'll take Tyler Warren and take the best tight end on the board. I was actually thinking that at this point, I was planning after Brashard Smith to take Colston Loveland because I was feeling that in one of the next 3 picks, Warren was going to go. And then, it's the back of the second round. So it's probably the right place. But man, just pray that he doesn't land in like a Ben Sinnott, bad landing spot for year 1. But man, Warren just looks the part when you watch him at Penn State. And he's 6'6", 257, projected near, somewhere a little under a 4.7. Interestingly enough, the Penn State product comps pretty closely to Pat Freiermuth in terms of size there, but probably not the most spectacular blocker from what people have said. I'm not going to ever pretend to be someone who's going to understand the intricacies of tight end blocking, but for sure we have a guy that can play, all over, not necessarily all over the field, but have a route tree that's expanded. They can have, the Kittle, maybe a short area and run with it. You can work the zone in the middle of the field. He can even potentially be, a deep threat, a red zone guy, a la like a Freiermuth, but has a lot of the tools, probably going to be a first round pick based on current mock drafts that are circulating, including Cody's. And let's see, let's pop back over here. You have him in Denver, which would be incredible, probably a picture perfect spot.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, the way Sean Payton's used tight ends in the past would get me really excited for as far as the landing spot goes. I don't know how you guys feel about this pick, and I don't know this. There's many ways I could go. I'm just gonna pick Kyren Lacy because I feel like he's probably the most the best player on the board at wide receiver right now. Although I'm not terribly confident, I don't really have much production to go off of. But he did play at LSU, and there's been a lot of good, wide receivers at LSU lately. So, I like the tape. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it was kind of between him and IU Manor at this pick. Maybe Evan Stewart would have garnered some consideration there too. But I know a lot of other people are higher on Lacy than I am. I think I like him. I don't think I love him. But what do you guys make of Kyren Lacy, or do you have an opinion at this stage?
I always thought when I watched Lacy, I always come away thinking like, there's something missing here.
Okay.
Like he's just never fires. And I mean, what always confused me about Lacy is in the same sentence you'd hear Garrett Nussmeier should be the number one quarterback in this class. I know he's going back to LSU, but this is when this was happening. But then why isn't Lacy being able to produce more with the skill set that he has, with the quarterback that was there? It just felt like there was always something missing. But at 212, it feels kind of the spot here. It feels the spot. This is where you can take shots on guys that might be missing something.
I like him, but when I finished my grade, I didn't like him. I got a late 5th, early 6th round grade on him, and I don't know. I think, like Matty said, I think that's the best way to say it. Like, there's just a lot that's left to be desired when you watch Kyren Lacy, and maybe it's because you're wish casting what has always been there with that jersey and helmet, and that can sometimes get into your vision. And it's one guy that I will say, being one of the first guys I did watch was like him and Tez and like Pat Bryant from Illinois. Once I get done with receivers, I'm going to go back to those guys and just make sure, because sometimes when you get into a position, the first couple can be a little bumpy. So I just am not a big fan of him at all, though. Unfortunately.
Gotcha.
But I want. That's the problem. I loved him 2 years ago.
It's one of those guys that I think a lot of other, like, I'm seeing him in a lot, going fairly high in a lot of these other mock drafts that I'm watching when I get a chance to, and I feel like at the 212 it's a decent chance to take, but
yeah.
What I really wanted to, what I probably should have done, and what my gut told me to do there, was IU Manor, who I saw had one of the better games against Travis Hunter, I think, in 2023. So anyway, but I'm fine with Kyren Lacy there, and I have more work to do on him. I'm just kind of, you get prospects you're unsure of. He's one that I feel, because I kind of feel the same way when I watch him. I think there's talent there. I just always come away, like Matty said, just I don't really know what to do with this guy. Like, I don't know. Anyway, like it's one of those guys I'm not very confident in my evaluation whatsoever. So I'm kind of looking to see what other people are saying about him. And anyway, so I'm kind of ambivalent on him right now. But that wraps it up, guys. We did it. 2 rounds, 1 quarterback. Let us know who had the best team in the chat. It's probably going to be me, but oh well, even though I had the last pick. Matty had Jeanty, Kaleb Johnson, Cam Skattebo, Ollie Gordon. Man, all running backs. Devin Neal, Tez Johnson. Because we're putting together a team is what we're doing.
Strength of the class. Don't
yeah,
take the guy who couldn't handle 20 extra pounds, who plays for Georgetown State of the Blind, who played 7 games. Go with the strength of the class.
Cody had Tet McMillan, Luther Burden, Tre Harris, Dylan Sampson, Jalen Royals, Tahj Brooks, Matt Babbage, Omarion Hampton, Emeka Egbuka, TreVeyon Henderson, Isaiah Bond, Brashard Smith, Tyler Warren, and Seth Dewald, the winner of this mock draft, Travis Hunter, Quinshon Judkins, Nicholas Singleton,
cornerback?
Xavier Restrepo, Jordan James, Kyren Lacy. It's an IDP league. I'm pulling the rug out from under. So there you go. He should have been the 101. Any thoughts here? Any final thoughts on this mock draft? Anything you want to say about somebody maybe we didn't draft? I don't know. Matty, take it in whatever direction you want to go.
It's just the running back class. It's unreal. I know right now it just feels it's so saturated and it's going to get watered down through the process. But I mean, Rocket Sanders wasn't even a thought here. And Rocket Sanders was sick nasty just a year ago. Damian Martinez. I know Jaden Ott's probably going to go back to Cal. But I mean, it's just there's so many good running backs in this class. It's unbelievable. I mean, we didn't even talk about RJ Harvey, who has a chance to really make a big name for himself coming out of Central Florida. If he decides I'm pretty sure he's declaring. The running back class is so good. And then I look at this and go, oh, shit, we didn't take a quarterback. Not a single quarterback was taken.
Yeah. Cody, final thoughts?
That's the thought right there. No quarterback taken, and there's still players on the board that you could draft and throw in here to round 2 and feel good about. Damian Martinez from Miami, another running back that was lethal at Oregon State last year, good this year, 230-pound back that just turned 21 years old. Actually, he turns 21 at the end of the month. A bunch of backs that you can just continually just pull out. Raheem Sanders, let's keep going. Let's keep bring down our 230-pounder. Film off another 230-pounder. Like the 230-pounders are coming out of oak trees this year in the 4th round of our rookie drafts, as well as tight ends. You want a tight end? I mean, Gunnar Helm. You're gonna be able to get Gunnar Helm at the end of the 3rd. Mason Taylor, super talented tight end. Kind of underwhelmed this past year, but I mean, you're gonna get a lot of value in tight end in the 3rd round. It looks like with Loveland, with Helm, with Taylor. I think that this drafts are shaping up well. If you can pick and choose where you go with receiver, the depth of this running back class, as you guys can see, is effervescent. I mean, it's just Matty had how many guys? 5 running backs. I had 2. Matt had 3. Seth had 3. Like, this is dumb.